All right, prokaryotic, most of them are decomposers. Some of them are pathogenic, they cause disease. Most of them are decomposers. Bacteria. Now, fungi are decomposers, but they're not prokaryotic, right? So they have a nucleus, they have organelles. So which prokaryotes live in really hot, really salty? They've been around on the planet for a long time because that's how the Earth was when it first started. Very good. Caleb, is that you? Nice. All right, now look, nucleus, organelles, it's a paramecium. So which kingdom does it belong to? It's considered plankton. Elizabeth jumped over. Are they all belong to the domain eukaryote? Eukaryotes. What would they all have in common? They're all eukaryotic. Okay. So what's after a kingdom? A domain, kingdom, and then there's the next group. So if you remember what the next group is. And you'll know that we're going to work with those today. All right, so then it goes phylum, then classes. What class do we fit? Okay, so what is our class called? Hair is a clue. So if this is the order, our order is primates, but if an animal only eats meat, which of these would make sense for them? We didn't write this down yesterday. We are today. Just try your best. It is Latin and Greek. That's what all languages come from. All right. Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. Elizabeth's on top this time. Okay, so let's see. It's close. All right. And one more real quick. All right, so here's some of the same kind of questions. It goes back to those kingdoms. So let's see if you can remember. And then what we're going to probably end up doing is writing down a few of those key things. So that way we can go back over them. So these are the characteristics. And you guys will figure out the kingdom. So we're going to write the kingdoms up here, all 6. All right, so what are the 6 kingdoms of organisms? Tell me where they go. We've got 3 domains. This is the only one we wrote down yesterday because that's ours. Okay, so what's our kingdom? I'll talk to me. What kingdom? What kind of organisms are we? Animals. Okay, so we got Animalia. All right, kingdom Animalia. All right, what are some other kingdoms? Who also has a nucleus of organelles? Plants. So, all right, 2 more. Who else are we talking about? Who are also eukaryotic? Are these the only 2 kingdoms? Come on, y'all. Who are the other kingdoms of organisms out there on the planet? What other kinds do we have? We have plants and animals. Do we only have plants and animals on the planet? Who else do we have? All right, eubacteria is under this one. Okay. Prokaryotic, no nucleus, no organelles. Okay. What is archaeodomain? Archaebacteria. All right, but we're still missing 2 eukaryotes. So who would they be? What's mushroom mold? Yeast. All right, and then who are all the plankton? Algae, paramecia, amoeba, euglena. Who's one that we're missing? Come on, come on. Who are they? Protists, right? Protista. All right, so if they are in eukarya, they all have a nucleus, they all have organelles that have jobs. But there's some distinguishing characteristics that makes a plant, an animal, a fungus, and a protist, and protist. Okay, so that's what this is going to do. We're going to run through these kind of fast. Here we go. All right, so you got your autotrophic, has more than one cell, can't move, but has walls of cellulose. That was a clue from the last one. Very good. What's the color for this? Should be on the top of somebody's screen. Let's see if it's up here. No. They don't show it. It doesn't show it. Sometimes it shows. All right, so uni or multi. Eukaryotic. So eukaryotic, you're already under here. Some can move, some don't. Some are autotrophic, some are heterotrophic. Greg's in the lead. Okay. Can't move, uni or multi, heterotrophs. So they can't make their own food. They're going to eat what they grow on. So they're going to absorb their nutrients, whatever they grow on. Cell walls of chitin. Okay, so prokaryotes, we're talking about one of these. right, so this is algae. This is all like pond scum. All right, these are white blood cells. For ours, but we're talking about these little things. These little unicellular, rod-shaped, kind of oval-shaped organisms. Oh. Okay. So what were those cells that were trying to eat those called? All right, it's gonna be our last question. So we gotta move on. Viruses. Just bringing it up. Okay, so go ahead and close up your computer and to where we were. We'll just plug them up on our way out. It'll be easier to kind of put to the side. So this is where we ended up, right? Yesterday? Okay, so if we look at the taxonomy, okay, so we said it's classifying organisms into like groups. What do we use to figure out what group they belong to? Like, how can we tell that a plant, it goes to the plant kingdom and the animals go to animal kingdom and produce go to produce kingdom? Like, what are some of the criteria or what are some of the things that we look for? Okay, and what they have inside them. So if their cells, if they have a nucleus or not, if they have certain organelles or not. Okay, what else can we look at? Shape. Okay. Some of the criteria up there was like some are autotrophic, some are heterotrophic. Like how they get their energy, can they move or not? Are they made of one cell? Or are they multicellular? So there's all these criteria, but ultimately, if we can analyze the DNA, we can really compare them to see. And also look at the fossil record and see how they evolved. And so we kind of piece all this together. All right, so yesterday we looked at, there are two fellows. The first is the first to classify organisms as either plant or animal. There are only two categories. You're either plant or an animal. I don't care if you, if you move and we can see you, you're going to be an animal. And if you are green, or if you don't move, or if it appears that you're growing out of the ground, then you're a plant. And that worked for a while, but then I think folks started realizing there's more to the story. So part of the reason that there was a need for Linnaeus or somebody to step up was to figure out one system that you could classify organisms consistently from place to place. I don't care where you go, that you're going to use the same system to figure out what organisms are. And so to write their names and all of that. So, so if I go to England and I talk about a ladybird beetle, and in the United States we talk about a ladybug, we're talking about the same thing. two different names, two different everyday common names. So there are names called common names, and then there are names called scientific names. But back then, there wasn't any scientific names. People just called things whatever they wanted to call them. So it might be kind of confusing. If you go to the ocean and you see this jellyfish, and people are like, oh, yeah, that's a jellyfish. Well, it's not a fish at all. It's a cnidarian. Or a starfish isn't a fish at all. It's an echinoderm. A koala is not a bear. It's a marsupial. It has a pouch. So there's lots of common names that are out there in the world that really don't accurately describe the different organisms. And I remember doing a project in high school where we had to collect different leaves, and we had to classify them. And I called it one tree's leaf. I'll never forget, a tulip tree. Well, that's what my grandfather had always called it, so I called it a tulip tree. Well, I got marked down for that. And in hindsight, I should have really argued to the point, because it's a common name that people call it. I got the scientific name right, but that same tree grows right out back out here. So I tell everybody when the leaves are actually on the trees, I'll say that's a yellow poplar tree, but some people call it a tulip tree. So my teacher probably shouldn't have really marked me down for it, because it is like an everyday name that people use. So Linnaeus is the guy that came up with a system of naming organisms, but also how to classify them. So there were 8 different taxons or levels. So we said a hierarchy is a level. There's 8 different ones now. Back in the day, there were less. So it went from kingdom to species, but now it goes to domain to species. So here's the sentence. We need to make sure you know the sentence so you can write all these out and you can identify what the order is, okay? All right, so here's the sentence. Domain is dumb. So if you have enough room, write this in the margin so that way you can remember the order, because this is one of those non-negotiable things you have to know. All right, King Philip came over for his family. Gross spaghetti is species. Okay. Another sentence that somebody came up with was, or student, was dumb Kenny picked chocolate Oreos from Grace's socks. Okay. You figure out, you can come up with your own sentence, but the main thing is I learned it as a rhythm. I didn't even learn it as a sentence. So I think domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I see it in my head as I do the rhythm in my head and say it. You've got to know that as soon as I say it's time for you to hit that button and start your exam, I will see people on their loose leaf sheet of paper, they will start doing this. And they'll just write the first letter of each of those taxons, but they're saying that sentence in their head or that rhythm. So that's what you have to know. So what does this tell you? Is it not, it's not just something to memorize. In a way it kind of is, because it's one of those things in biology that's a big deal. It was on the, I noticed that, maybe, I did not even, maybe not. Don't think so. I think I gave away my last one, but I can run this off because I have it written on mine right there. So I'll go run this off. So there's the sentence. And so which of these, make sure, and while I go run this real quick, make sure that you've labeled, let's write the genus and species are the 2 taxons that we use for a scientific name. Okay. And they may ask you that. And that's what's going to bring us to the next new thing is how do you write a scientific name properly? And so on here, you'll see where it says binomial nomenclature. So that's where we're going to go next. Let me run this off real quick.
I'm not ready for today. We got a quiz today?
Oh, the talent show.
So you need to sing this from how much? Because I've seen this one. And I didn't know that word again. This one, this is. Could you play on this one?
Okay, here we go. You're welcome. Okay, so when y'all look at this, if I say which taxon is larger and includes more organisms, class or order, what would you say? Which one's the bigger box?
Class.
Class. Okay, so that's why we did it as boxes to think about. It's bigger groups that includes more organisms. Okay, which one is the most inclusive? Includes the most? Phylum or family?
Wait, what?
Which one is most inclusive?
Oh, family.
Which one includes the most?
Oh, phylum.
Phylum, the biggest box. Okay. So Caleb, which one is the most specific up there? Which one is the least inclusive? It's very exclusive. To be a part of this group, you can naturally interbreed. Right. Okay, so Elizabeth, which of these two taxons do we use for a scientific name? Genus and species. Okay, so Annette, of these taxons, which one do we know there's only 6 of? Kingdom. All right, so Alexis, of these, which one is more inclusive, includes more organisms, class or genus? Yeah. All right, Craig, which of these taxons do we share with all other animals with hair or fur? It's milk to feed their young. Mammals, which would be what taxon? Look to the left. What taxon is mammals? So if you go to the left, what is it? Class. Yes, our class. So there is the hierarchy of classification. Now let's go down below that and let's start with the binomial nomenclature. Okay, so binomial nomenclature. Okay, so these words, especially the first one, you will see in math. What does binomial mean?
Oh, two versus
Yeah, two of something. So it just continues on from yesterday. It's on the bottom. So binomial nomenclature. So bi is two. Nomen means name. Okay, so what this is saying is this is a system of writing a scientific name that Linnaeus came up with. And it's one of those things that you'll see again. I mean, they may just straight up ask you, what is the system for writing a scientific name that was developed by Linnaeus? And you just have to know it. Or they may say, well, the system of binomial nomenclature, what 2 taxons are used to write a scientific name? So we're going to put that.
Is that O? As dividing on with the other word.
No, yeah, that's a no.
And then
That's an N. So nomenclature. Yep, so writing a scientific name. Okay, so it says how. Okay, so we use genus and we capitalize the genus always. Okay, so these are the rules for writing a scientific name. So you always capitalize the genus, you lowercase the species name. Oops, species. Okay, and then you have to underline them both, or you write it in italics. Okay, so you either have to italicize it or you underline it. So, usually we don't write in italics. So when we're writing a scientific name, then we just underline it. But most of the time when you're reading it, or if it's on a worksheet or in a book or something, you'll see it. It'll be in italics. So here's our scientific name, Homo sapien. And then you may see another sapien. Okay, sometimes and other times not. But that's how you would properly write our scientific name. Okay, so they may also ask you something like, if we have Homo erectus, what's similar between these two different species? So they're not the same species. That's not us. Huh? Homo. So what do they both belong to? Same what? What does Homo correspond to? The genus. So then we would be in the same genus, which means we'd be in the same family, same order, same class, all the way up. But we're not the same species. So that's a different species altogether of a hominid. Okay, so same genus, different species. Okay, so the language that we're writing this stuff in is all Latin or Greek. Latin or Greek. That's so we use Latin and or Greek to write these scientific names. So that's consistent. So when we look at these Latin roots or Greek roots, then that builds our language. We trace it back to this, and this is consistent. So that way everybody knows that a Homo sapien is a human, no matter where you are on the planet. Okay, we all use the same words. Okay, so a common name, how would you describe a common name? If these are scientific names, what is a common name for like a person?
Just the name of the person.
So just the name of the person. All right, what else would be a common name for well, the fact we use the word person. So person is a common name. Your names are common names. What else? What else is a common name? What's another example of a common name?
Like the color of your skin.
So if we just say human. All right, so for dogs, do you go along saying, oh, come here. Oh, look at that cute Canis lupus domesticus.
No, we said.
And then we call it by breed. And the breed is a common name. So common names are everyday names that may vary from place to place and may not be that accurate as far as describing them. So everyday names can vary from place to place. And they may ask you a question about that on your test. They may say, what's the advantage of using a scientific name instead of a common name? And what would you tell them? What would be the advantage of writing Canis lupus domesticus versus Chihuahua, dog, whatever the name of your dog is? I mean, you just use those different names. What's the advantage of using a scientific name? If a dog is a Canis lupus domesticus in Tibet, in China, in Lexington, in Canada, it's specific. And does it change from place to place? No, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. So everyday names can vary from place to place and be misleading. So while we're not going to all, be calling everybody some Greek or Latin name all the time, we're not going to abandon the whole common name thing, but it makes a consistent way of naming organisms. And that's what Linnaeus did. Okay, so below that, y'all look, see where there's 3 ovals right here? So review, it says 3 domains in the 6 kingdoms. So that's the place that we're going to put what I put on that board. We're going to put it here. So that way we can remember again kind of like what those are, because I never really emphasized domains before. I just, we looked at the kingdoms instead. So 3 domains only. So that means if we were to put all the organisms in the planet in a box store, there would be 3 box stores, and that's it for the whole planet. One big giant Walmart, maybe a big giant Target, and I don't know, what's another one? A Big Lots. Okay. So let's say that that's a box store. There's another box store and there's another box store. There's only 3. So we have bacteria. That would be 1. And only the eubacteria would belong. So here's the kingdom. So eubacteria is the only kingdom that belongs to this domain. And they are the most populated organism on the planet. We have more of them than we have anybody. All right, and then we have archae. Which, does anybody remember what this means? Like archaeology? If you're studying archaeology, what are you studying? Indiana Jones was an archaeologist. So ancient, like real ancient stuff, so archaebacteria, only 1 kingdom belongs to that. However, what's our kingdom again? So we got eukarya. So that means that these are prokaryotic, no nucleus or organelles, and those are all eukaryotic. So I'm just going to list them straight. Y'all tell me again without looking. All right, what's our kingdom? Okay, Animalia. Yeah, animals. Okay. Give me another kingdom. Plants. Plantae. All right, give me another one.
The bacteria.
Here's over there. Yep, good. Protist, yeah. Protista. All right. So there we go. So that's kind of that review of those. So now we're ready to start classifying and using some tools. Okay. So before we do that, and there's no notes, honestly, y'all, to take here. These are just all because you've got examples that we're going to use in your packet. So these are some different ways that we can try to classify an organism and find its identity. So you'll need your packet, but we also need to go over the answers to some of these questions. So we're going to kind of jump ahead. We're going to back up for a minute. And let's go over these answers. Y'all tell me when I can switch. Does everybody get, once you get the notes?
I think you switched. I think you switched.
Okay, good. Awesome. All right. So on your exam, they may do a couple different things. They may do something like this.
Then these are the ones that I didn't get.
And it may be, okay, so what you've got going on, you'll notice that the domain's missing, right? There's no domain, but that's okay. They may not give you all of these taxons. They even gave it to you in the correct order. They may not do that. They may do something like this and give you just a section of it and label A, B, C, or D and have you answer questions. But either way, you're going to be able to do it with no problem. All right, so we've got, here's ours and 3 other species. So let's see what it says. Which taxon includes the most specific characteristics? Most specific is not the broadest, the most specific. So look in your taxon and it's species. Okay, does that make sense? Species?
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right, good. All right, which taxon includes the broadest of those up here? Now, I don't see domain, so what is the biggest?
Kingdom.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, which taxon includes more species, an order or a family? So which one would be the bigger box?
Or
You got it. Yeah, anything towards the top is going to be bigger. Okay, which taxon includes only organisms that can successfully interbreed?
species.
Yes, very good. Is that making sense? Okay. All right, now, if two organisms belong to the same family, okay, they got the same family, what other taxon groups do the organisms have in common? So if I'm in this same group, what else am I also a part of? And picture this. If I'm in this box right here, what other boxes am I a part of? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what it's asking. So if I'm the same family, what are the answers? A family is within what? Species is in here. So if I'm in just the same family, I don't have to have these same ones. I'm just a box within a bigger box, within a bigger box, within a bigger box. So look above it. Order. Exactly. So I would just list them like O, C, P, and K. Just put the first initial or something. So if I'm in the same family, I've got all those alike. All right, which two organisms in the chart are most closely related? Okay, so just like anything we've done up to this point, if you're trying to figure out who's most closely related, you're trying to see who has the most stuff in common, whatever it is. So who's going to have the most taxons in common?
I said genus and species.
All right, so look at these and tell me who has which two organisms now has the most taxons in common as you compare them. They're all animals. They're all chordates. That means they have a backbone and have a nerve cord. Or we're talking about which organisms.
Oh.
So what names of organisms have the most in common? Three of them are mammals. That kicks out the frog. Okay, keep looking. Mountain lion, and you said the dog? Yeah, you're right. Because look, does everybody see why? How many different taxons do they have alike? How many are alike? Four. Right, because we're primates, we're not carnivores. So there you go. So it's mountain lion and dog. All right, who would be the outlier? Who is least like all the rest? Yeah, so they can ask you a question like that too. They'll give you this chart and they'll say, who is the least genetically related? Or they're going to say, who evolved aside from the others? I don't know. They're going to give you some kind of, just think, okay, who's not like everybody else? And there you go. All right, next. Then we're going to go back to this in just a minute. Okay, so which two vertebrates are most closely related?
I said B and E.
So B and E, they have the same genus, right? It doesn't matter about the species, this last name. If it doesn't match with the genus, they're not the same. So Esox, B and E is correct. Okay, that was kind of tricky. All right, next one. Who's the house cat most related to?
Number 2, lynx.
The lynx. Yeah, number 3. Okay. So question 3. Who has the greatest number of different types of organisms? Who would have the biggest box? Of these listed, kingdom. Okay. So what if they don't list kingdom? And they listed family, and they put family here instead. What would you say is the next biggest? So put family in here. Phylum.
Yeah.
That's why you have to know the order. So think Dumb King Philip came over for gross spaghetti.
Gross.
Yep. Or you say great spaghetti or whatever. So whatever sentence it is, that'll help you figure out which one's higher and which one's bigger, which one's smaller. All right, number 4, you'll get 2. Linnaeus. Okay, number 5. Scientific name. Which two taxons do we use to write a scientific name? Homo sapien. 4. Yeah, your genus and species. Okay, number 6. Here's one of those. Who's most distantly related? Who's least like everybody else? A, the plant. You got it. All right, now, number 6.
Okay, which one is
Okay.
that?
5 was 4.
Okay, 4 was.
Okay.
I hate when those are no numbers, like we're calling all these. So number 7, Canis lupus. Now you know. What matches up with Canis?
I said 4.
All right, so it's always a genus. Yep. And then species. So it is. 4 is correct. All right, and then the last one, within which group would all the members show the greatest similarity? What would have the most in common? Who can naturally interbreed? You're so in common, you breed. Species, yeah. Okay, so what we're doing next are using some tools, okay? And so I'm going to show you how to do these. You are going to be self-paced. You can do it by yourself or you can do it with a partner and sit together and work together. When you get the answers to one of these, then you come to me and you say, here are my answers. I'll check them off. I'll give you can check them off, then you go to the next activity. Okay, so here's the first one. This is the phylogenetic tree. So here's the deal. We've seen these before and we know something about branches being closer together, meaning more related. Okay, here's what you have to do. And this is actually from a college biology worksheet. Okay, from Carolina, from a workbook they have. So what you're going to do is, these are the names of specific monkeys that are not on this tree yet. Y'all see some branches with letters. So we're trying to figure out where to put those monkeys on that tree. So when you read this, let's do the first one together, and then we'll go to the next activity. All right, so ants. Ants is more closely related to Diana than any other species. All right, so you go find Diana, and hold up, you got to find the branch that's closest to Diana.
D.
So, yeah, you see how D is closer than C? D is the answer. So you put D on the blank. All right, so do y'all want to do one more just to make sure?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
more.
All right, so number 2, flat topped.
This one.
So we're going to do this now. You're going to do it and then check your answers and we'll go to the next thing. All right, so number 2, flat topped, as close to Mona as Mona is to Campbell's. Okay, so we find Mona. There's Mona, there's Campbell's. We find the branch that is about equal distance as Campbell is to Mona.
Yeah.
E. Well, yeah.
So which one? See, that distance about angles. It's kind of like geometry. Okay, so I would say it is F because see that distance versus that distance is about the same. So F is the answer. All right, so when you finish that, then we'll go, you'll check them and then we'll go to the next one. Okay, let me show you how to do the next one. Here you go. This is called a dichotomous key. Okay, so flip to these. We've got these crazy animals and we've got these leaves. Okay. So we're going to do the crazy animals first, and then you're going to come and do the leaves. Okay, so let's flip to the crazy ones. And let me give you the key. So these are called dichotomous keys. You'll be given a key on your exam, and you'll just have to be able to know how to use it. And they're not hard. It's just you didn't go over it, it would look kind of confusing. These are some of those questions that nobody will miss after going over these. All right, so you have a key on both sides. So the key that's up, this is the one we're using. Ignore all this. The only thing that we're going to pay attention to is this dichotomous key right here. So they're going to give you that. And they're going to give you a specific organism. So let's say it's like number 50 up here. Okay, so let's look at this guy. And they'll say, classify this life form using the dichotomous key. So they'll give you the picture, and then you're going to say, okay, here it is. So it starts, the first group is either you have feet or you've got no feet. They put you in two big broad groups. So look at this guy. Does he have feet or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go past feet, go to statement 2. So skip down to number 2. Okay?
He has socks.
Socks or no socks? Check them out. He has socks. Go to statement 3. Okay, hop down to 3. A or B? Antennae. Does he have little antennae or no antennae?
None.
None? No antennae? Life form K. And now you're done. So you put K on the blank. Okay? And now you're ready to start for number 50.
Hold on, 51.
Okay? So now let's do 51 and then I'll turn you loose. Okay?
But how do we know who started?
You always start with number 1. So feet or no feet? Feet. Go to statement 2. Socks or no socks?
No socks.
Okay, no socks. So statement 5. Alexis, you got this? Alexis, close the computer. You should be following along here. All right, so statement 5.
No toes.
Toes, no toes. No toes. Life form T.
That was 50.
And that was 51. Yeah, 50 was K. All right, and then we keep on going. The only thing I'll tell you is there's one that folks screw up on, and it's because it's not clear. Right here.
That was T.
Yeah. Look at 54. This is a nose. Doesn't look like a nose, it looks kind of like a grin. That's supposed to be a nose when you get to it. And that will make a difference in choosing the right one or not. Okay? All right. So let's see how much time we've got. So you're going to do the monkeys first. And you can get with a partner and talk about it, or you can do it by yourself. Well, after you do the monkeys, you're going to show me your answers. I'll just give them to you, you check them, and then you're going to go and finish those, okay? And then you'll check those, and then if we have time, we'll do the leads. And I'll be glad to answer questions as you go, get along. Let's see.
Jerry, what's David?
Yeah. Oh, you have to do your own paper, but you can work with somebody. Absolutely.
That's not right here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out.
What is it? This one, eyes and stuff.
I guess it's like,
Oh, but which one?
I need to check the one piece.
Yeah.
What does it mean by isotope?
I saw it like, this is the stalk, so
So
like the eyes on the thing.
So is the thing?
All right, so you've already got, everybody understand that one? Everybody good? All right, so you got it. All right, there's the answers. I'm right, nice.
Chambers of 6
Yeah, I had got the
Where
first
do
one.
I get
That's not like she got it.
I don't know.
Then I got two.
Stalks are like, these little things. So the eyes like, like a snail, that's how theirs are, in real life. Like a little thing. Yeah. All right, let's go back so far. Yeah, that's right.
I want to do this.
You knock those out. All right, let's see. Yeah, they're all right. Okay, so flip this over, and you've got the plants. Let's see, I mean, flip your dichotomies together. So these. So these are the real deals. Sometimes on our exam, they give you fish, they give them all kinds of stuff. They give them,
Yeah, I've seen the fish.
yeah. So now use, is this one. All right, so a compound leaf is a leaf divided into leaflets like this.
So like, what's mine?
So, well, it has to have like individual leaves like this.
Oh, it like not connected.
Right. So this connects to like one little central thing. Or if it's a simple leaf, it's like one whole complete thing, but it may have little parts to it, but they don't have like individuals. Okay. All right, so just let me know when you, yep, you got it. So now flip it over to this side, over here. So you're gonna classify each one of these. So start with number one, and that's a simple leaf because it's not divided into leaflets like these are. See how those have different little leaf parts to them? This one's just one leaf. That's just one leaf. So you're gonna start with deciding if it's a compound or simple. And then you just keep on going. Yeah. Yep, you got it. Nice. Yep, then we'll try the leaves. Flip the dichotomous key over, and there's another key right there for the leaves. Let me know what you get for the first one, because I'm curious. Yeah, okay, so do you see how that's capitalized and it's in italics? So the fact it's capitalized, is that the genus or the species? Yes, so see, you put the genus name and then that's its everyday name. Yeah, we've got one of those trees right out there, the one with that grayish white bark. That's right. Oh, you have to underline it. Because it's a scientific, it's part of the scientific name.
It's sometimes used for art, but it's like.
It can be a paper birch or it can be crepe myrtle.
It's like this big, it's like incredible.
Yeah, are you gonna?
They use it on that.
Oh, yeah, that's what, it's probably crepe myrtle. We've got it out front of the building of the school.
The color's gonna come out.
Okay, so let's go through this one. See, so y'all each take turns doing one, so that way you know that you can all, you're all can do it. Okay, now hold up. So you got to actually find the whole way. So you said this is a compound leaf or a simple leaf. Go to step 4. So go down to 4. Veins branch out from the central point, or veins branch off the main vein in the middle of the leaf. So the veins branch out throughout the middle, or they branch out from the central point. Well, this one it does. But this one doesn't. See how they all branch off from the central vein? So because of that, go to step 5. Is it heart shaped or star shaped? Oh wait, that's not right. Go to step 4. Simple way 4. Branches from the central point. No, it goes to 8. In the middle, 8. Right, that's the 6. Leaf has toothed or jagged edge. The edge is jagged. Yes. So you write the tubular birch. That's what you write right here. Okay. And then you start back at step 1 for the next one. There. Yep. Do you have any yet for that first? All right, so this is a compound of different leaflet parts. This is a simple. So that's like compound, and that's a simple. Because it doesn't have leaflets. So for this one, steps leaflets are attached to one central point. Or they're attached to one point and they kind of go off on that. That's that one. So this one, so that one. This one, it has several points. And there's several different points. So you go step 3. You see which ones. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Yes. Okay, so let me see what's next. Those probably get yeah. All right, so we want that. Okay. So this is the last thing that we're going to do is, I think y'all get probably this part, about who's closest to who. So we go down to the cladogram. The cladogram is where you've got the evolution. So here's ancestor down here. This is old. This is ancestor, ancient, or primitive, and this is like modern. So ancestor to modern time. So over time. So this is like when a characteristic evolved, but also who has it. So like this type of plant lacks seeds and vascular tissue. So which plant does not have seeds or vascular tissues? So who's below it? Because anything above this line has vascular tissue. Anything above? Bryophytes, mosses, yeah. So mosses evolved before vascular tissues and seeds. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the last 2, the last 3. Y'all can figure those out. You got the hang of it. This was, I think it's complicated. Yes. Can't be the same. That one's the buckeye. This one is as common as a simple. So it should be this one, star shaped. All right, so, and hold up, instead of just copying, you gotta know how to do it.
I don't know.
All right, so let me show you how to do it. So, like, this type of, yeah, show her how to do that. Alright, so this type of has seeds, so it has seeds above here, above the seeds. Vascular tissue, above vascular tissue, but no flowers. So they have flowers. So what's in between flowers and all that? Well, that's why that's the answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you just have to look and see where they are. Okay, so the homework sheet, y'all, is this right here, it's the next sheet. And we're gonna click in the answers tomorrow, this is a short period anyway. So it's just the one that says taxonomy quiz, it was part of last year's quiz. Last semester's quiz. I know, are you excited?
So we get our tickets to third period?
Yeah. That's what I was told, get a wristband.
They won't be the same as how much show, but I really love green.
Aww. Oh, don't forget, grab your computer, y'all.
I can tell you about that.
You're gonna be, y'all are be good. I'm excited.
Ooh, everybody on the stage.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to get up in front of your peers like
Yeah,
that. And
I don't normally don't dance.
Oh, I know, I had to do it before.
Brothers and sisters.
That's not fun.
I think that's awesome.
I did it in like elementary school and middle school.
Dancing is always the worst one.
All right, thanks. Thank you for calling. Shut up.
Bye. Good day. All right, Roy, you can get a computer or your phone. We're gonna do a quick Kahoot.
I messed up.
Okay.
I thought you used it.
Yes.
We were at the Y.
I need to do it, I got it done. So, because it's just